is KIRO 7 Breaking News.
Breaking news out of Camp Murray. Governor Bob Ferguson is holding a news conference right now at the state's Emergency Operations Center in response to widespread flooding. Let's listen in.
In a fast-moving situation. Brianna does have a copy of the emergency declaration in case you need to see that or want to take photographs of that. We are, as you might imagine, in regular contact with local governments, tribal governments, and the federal government. I just finished a call, for example, with the National Weather Service. We've been in communication with FEMA Region 10 and the Army Corps of Engineers. At 2 p.m., I have a call with FEMA Region 10 to request an expedited emergency declaration from the federal government. We need the federal government to grant that request. This is critical. If granted, that emergency allows us to access life, safety, and emergency protective measures and additional federal resources, which will be key for us to address the extremely challenging situation that Washingtonians are facing right now. I do want to encourage all Washingtonians to listen carefully to alerts from your county emergency management departments. If you receive an evacuation order, please follow that order. This is critical for your safety. Look, the impact on Washingtonians is significant now, and it's going to be significant in the coming days, and that is an understatement. We're mindful of that, which is why we're working so hard, and you're seeing people in this room working so hard to address this situation as quickly as we can. Understand it's a challenging week for many of our state. My team understands we're putting everything we can into this situation to respond as quickly as we can. We deeply appreciate all the first responders and many others who are out there in the field helping Washingtonians as they deal with protecting their homes, their businesses, their lives, their pets, their loved ones. I'll be visiting impacted communities very soon. I'm working with the general on the right time to do that, but you'll see me out in communities as soon as that is appropriate. And again, I want to emphasize how important it is that we get this declaration from the federal government. This situation is extremely serious. The next few days are going to be very critical. You'll hear more from the folks here about specifics of what we're facing, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Major General Gent Welsh. I'm the commander of the Washington National Guard and the director of the Washington Military Department. Folks, this is a very serious situation. When you see reports of record level flooding, not only just record level flooding, but historic level flooding, it's time to pay attention. There are going to be some serious impacts to communities around this state in the next 24 to 48 hours. Your Washington National Guard, thank you again for your leadership, Governor. Thank you for signing that emergency declaration. That allows us to get moving. So by the end of tonight, when the sun goes down, you will have over 100 Washington National Guard members surge to help local communities. And by the end of the day tomorrow, you'll have over 300 ready to go, to include some of our best aviators and some of our best folks that really specialize in these types of rescues and public assistance. Governor, we're ready to help Washington. This is what we do best. This is the time that the National Guard really steps up and helps our community. And with that, Director Robert Ezell.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. And as Governor Ferguson and General Welsh has emphasized, we're dealing with a very dangerous, complex, and rapidly evolving situation. As you can see, our State Emergency Operations Center is full today. We're working very closely with our county and tribal partners to quickly request to any or to respond to any of their requests for assistance, and we're going to be here until this event is over. We're staffing 24/7 for the next few days to help out. We have people in this room from across state government, other state agencies, anybody who can lend a capability that would help our local partners. We anticipate the heavy rain that we've been experiencing for the last couple of days to continue and even increase in the afternoon and evening hours tonight and continue into the night. And so this atmospheric river event is far from done, and we're receiving signals that it's going to be wet next week as well. So anticipate that this situation is going to continue over the next number of days. What we're seeing is multiple rivers all the way from the border with Canada down to southwestern Washington are currently at moderate to major flood stage levels, and we're going to just see those levels increase as we go into tomorrow and Friday. Landslide risks are elevated statewide and will continue to be that way because of the saturated soils. And then we're expecting a number of rivers to reach or exceed record flood levels. Chief of these is the Skagit River. And we see that the 1990 record is probably going to be exceeded by about 4 feet upriver, and in the Mount Vernon, Arlington area by at least a foot. So what that means is, and what we're hearing from the county, is they're preparing to evacuate 75,000 people who are living in the low-lying areas. They've already put out alerting orders to evacuate, and we could anticipate go-now orders coming as early as this evening. We anticipate levees, not just on the Skagit River, but on many others, being overtopped. And we're hearing reports that the flood wall down in Arlington could be overtopped. But it's not just the Skagit River that we're concerned about. We're seeing significant impacts along the Cowlitz River. Highway 12 is underwater in a number of areas. The town of Randall's currently cut off. We see parts of Packwood cut off, and we're seeing that situation on a number of rivers across the state and even on the east side of the Cascades. In Pierce County, right here, just a little bit east of where we are, we see go-now orders already being issued for areas in Ording. And so, again, it's just a complex, evolving situation, and it's not just confined to a couple of river valleys. It's pretty much prevalent across western Washington. Our local governments are fully engaged. We have more than a dozen local emergency operations centers activated. Many counties have issued disaster declarations, and we're seeing sheltering operations in a number of the hardest hit counties. Again, what we're doing here, the important work that my team is doing, is coordinating support from across state government to help our local partners. And so I'll just wrap up to echo the pleas of Governor Ferguson and General Welsh. Please follow evacuation orders, keep yourselves safe. If there's high water out there, don't drive into it. And just do everything that you can, listen to the news, be aware of the situation, and take the appropriate actions that you need to protect yourselves and your families. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Rourke, who's the Washington State Department of Transportation Olympic Region Administrator.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a brief transportation update. WashDOT certainly saw this forecast coming and planned ahead, and we have our crews out in full force looking at state highways across the state, particularly here on the west side, to take care of water over the roadway issues. We are poised to reopen roadways when it's safe to do so. And I would emphasize safety's job one here. Good source of information if travelers need it, and I would encourage travelers to plan ahead for any trips in affected areas. The WashDOT app, the WashDOT website is a great source for travel information and our real-time travel map. So plan ahead and be safe out there. Thank you.
So we're happy to take any questions that folks may have. Yes.
Earlier, we requested assistance from on-site.
Yeah.
That assistance was denied by the federal government.
Right.
Concerns about that if the county were requesting.
Sure. So I'll just repeat the question just so everybody could hear it. So the question went to the fact that Washington was denied funding to deal with the bomb cyclone from the federal government, and I think you're asking, hey, do we have a sense of what the response will be to a request? Obviously, I'm acutely aware of the denial before, and I've shared my thoughts about that in the past. I won't repeat those here. What I will say right now is that, lives will be at stake in the coming days, and we need the federal government to do what's entirely appropriate here, which is to declare an emergency that taps into the resources and the assistance from the federal government that literally can help us save lives and help individuals save their homes and their property and their livestock. And so I look forward to the 2 o'clock call where I'll be laying out the impacts, the fact that Skagit River, which in the over 100 years we've been recording flooding at the Skagit River, we anticipate this will exceed that by multiple feet. That this is a very, very serious situation. So, all I can really say in response to your question is we need them to approve it, and we'll be doing everything we can to make sure they have all the information that lays out very, very clearly what's happening here in Washington State. You bet. Yes.
Would you describe this system as life-threatening right now?
I think anytime you have literally tens of thousands of folks who may be facing evacuation orders, yes, by definition, that becomes a life-threatening situation. And so once again, it is critical that folks listen carefully to those orders, and if they receive an evacuation order, they need to put their safety first and deal with those. So yes, absolutely, this is historic flooding. Our state has seen some big floods in our history. And anytime you have the potential and what's really being predicted of literally record-setting flooding on the Skagit River, by definition, that puts people in jeopardy, and that's why we're taking this as seriously as we are.
Final question for you. I was in Auburn earlier today. There's a Chevron gas station that's flooded, inundated, water's up to pumps. I know your FEMA request is in the works right now, but what do you know about businesses suffering from flooding across the state right now? Do you have any information you can share?
Sure. So there's a reason why I declare this a statewide emergency, because this is impacting folks all across the state. It's not just Skagit County or just Lewis County. It's a statewide problem that we have, and it's a very fluid problem that we have. So we're very mindful of whether it's businesses, homes, lives, livestock. The impacts are real for many Washingtonians and businesses. That's why we're all working so hard. You're seeing that right here in this room. There's lots of folks outside this room who are out there trying to address this as quickly as we can. That's also why we need the coordination of governments, which we're getting at the local level, and why we need it from the federal government as well. Thank you. Any other questions that folks have today? Anything else that any of you want to share? If not, I want to thank all the folks who are in this room for their hard work at a really challenging time for Washingtonians. The message for Washingtonians is really clear. We're praying for you. We're doing everything we can to help you in your situation. And we also ask you, listen carefully to the experts who are providing information to you. We ask you that. We ask you to follow their instructions. And with that, we're going to get through a really, really challenging situation. And of course, we'll be keeping Washingtonians and the public updated on a regular basis throughout this process. When we get a response from the federal government, we of course will let you all know as soon as possible. And again, really appreciate you sharing this information to Washingtonians. It's a really critical time. Thank you very much, everybody.